of yesteryear. Now, the Hebrew date happens to be Yud Dalet Tevet. That is the 14th of Tevet. It marks the Hilula of a really great rabbi who would actually pass away and be buried in Marrakesh. Rabbi Pinchas Khalifa, HaKohen Azog. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, one of the great rabbis from Morocco, especially in the 1900s in of itself, respectively. Now, it's actually interesting. One of his ancestors was a really, really famous, probably one of the most famous Moroccan rabbi in Jewish history, Rabbi David ben Baruch HaKohen Azog. He himself, I think, passed away in the late 1700s, to be precise, in the year 1784. His ancestor was a great rabbi, a great Kabbalist in Morocco, and very, very much we actually dedicated a video with regards to the greatness of Rabbi David ben Baruch. Let's just speak about him within regards to a minute, because he wrote many great Torah books in and of itself. Rabbi David ben Baruch, his ancestor, did, including the David Baruch, which was Drashot and Kiddushim on the Torah, on the subject for the congregation in of itself. He left over many different manuscripts within regards to different Torah teachings in of itself. I think it was actually came out in the Malchei Rabbanan, if I'm not mistaken, also. Now, it's actually interesting just to explore the family trees of Rabbi Azog, in of itself, Rabbi Pinchas Khalifa. He actually came from further great rabbinic heritage. For example, his grandfather was Rabbi Yeshua Roslin, another great rabbi. He happened to be from his mother's side. His mother was Rabbanit Rivka Roslin. They were really, really great family. His father was known as the Baba Yamin, also popularly known as Rabbi Yamin Azog. Really, really great rabbi. He would also have a rabbi brother that would become a very famous rabbi also at a later stage in time. His brother's name was Rabbi David ben Baruch Hashemi, obviously probably named after the grandfather, his ancestor, the Baba Dado. Really, really great rabbis in of itself. So we explored and to say his family side, but he himself happened to be a great rabbi, and he was very, very well respected by many of the people in Morocco in of itself, not just from the Jewish community. They came to him for advice. Many of the non-Jewish people over there. Now, it's actually reported over, he had Ruach HaKodesh. He had, like, let's say, Holy Spirit. He could foresee different events that actually came. And it happened to be, I believe, the king of Morocco at what stage in time wanted to, let's just say, give the death penalty on the fakha of Marrakesh, as they say. I'll say it in Hebrew, what the My Tzaddik websites says, and I'll say it in English. Ruach HaKodesh yada shemelech Morocco zomem להרוג את הפכה של מרקש ולאחר שהזהיר את הפכה והציל את חייו, ניצל את ארצתו של הפכה לטובה יהודי העיר. So what basically happened was that, let's say, the king had there was a position called the fakha, or the pasha of Marrakesh. He had instigated plotter to kill him, and he was able to warn, let's say, the pasha, the fakha of Marrakesh, and saved his life in retribution. And because of the admiration of the pasha, of the fakha of Marrakesh in of itself, respectively, he really benefited and helped the Jewish community in totality in Marrakesh afterwards as kakar tatov, as a debt of gratitude. Now, Rabbi Pinchas Khalifa Kohen Azog, I believe, passed away. It was maybe around the year 1951, 1952. We're talking about nearly 75 years ago from the time of recording, on Yud Dalet Tevet, the 14th of Tevet. Now, he was buried in Marrakesh. Remember, Marrakesh of yesteryear had a very, very great Torah Jewish community in of itself, which we've mentioned about on various occasions before. And let's say the Azog dynasty, rabbinic dynasty in of itself, was very great. Many of the great rabbis of Morocco came out from this great family in of itself. So I recommend everyone to actually learn more about the HaKohen Azog family in of itself. We've related over various different videos on the different great rabbis. Especially we did one on Rabbi David ben Baruch when it was his Hilula just over 2 years ago from the time of recording. So please don't forget to light candles in the great rabbi's memory here on the 14th of Tevet. Now, friends, we are a community here. We are learning all about the great rabbis of yesteryear. We've covered already about maybe 80 to 100 great chachamim that happen to have been from Morocco of a past time. We are also covered about 600 great rabbis on this Grandurate series in of itself. And please light candles in memory. If you feel anyone is interested in learning more about these great chachamim, please share the videos to various other people, because I think it's very, very important we learn about a great chachamim of yesteryear. many institutions I think were named after many of the great rabbis from this great family in of itself, especially Rabbi David ben Baruch. I think his ancestor had several institutions, various synagogues established, for example, in Ofakim, in Afula, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Kiryat Gat, I think in Netziona, in Yavne, Yerucham, various places in Netanya, I think also in Keren HaYesod Street in Cholon. But many of the Azog family, they would have many, let's just say, commemorations or memorials in memory of him. Now, it's actually interesting. His son, Rabbi Yamin Kohen Azog, was buried next to Rabbi David ben Baruch. And Rabbi Yamin also had a daughter, I think her name was Rabbanit Aliyah, if I'm not mistaken. And it's actually interesting. I think Rabbi David Kohen Azog, this was Rabbi also had, as we said before, Rabbi David Kohen Azog, who was buried in Majador, I believe, which is very interesting enough. This is now the family tree we are singing this up. So Rabbi David ben Baruch, who passed away in late 1784 to be precise, had the son Rabbi Yamin Kohen Azog, who was buried next to him. Then Rabbi Yamin had a daughter, Rabbanit Aliyah, and a son, Rabbi David Kohen Azog, who is buried at the Majador. He would then have the two sons Rabbi David would have. That would have been Rabbi Yamin and Rabbi Baruch HaKohen, who Rabbi Baruch was also named after his grandfather. Then his grandchildren was Rabbi David ben Baruch, known as Baba Dado, who was buried in, I believe, in Terodant, if I'm not mistaken. And Rabbi Pinchas Khalifa Kohen Azog was another son of Rabbi Yamin, to just look at the family tree in himself, who he himself was buried in Marrakesh. So very, very interesting. Now, please, everyone, don't forget to light candles in the great rabbi's memory. Wishing you well. Take care and have a meaningful day.